For centuries, the British royal family has stood like an unshakable pillar at the heart of world history, watched, admired, feared, and often misunderstood. Their rise was not a straight path to glory, nor was their fall a single moment of collapse. Instead, it was a long journey filled with war, betrayal, ambition, power struggles, and extraordinary resilience. Behind every shining crown lies a shadow, and behind every celebrated monarch lies a story of sacrifice, secrets, and survival. The rise and fall of the British royal family is the untold chronicle of dynasties that shaped continents, forged empires, and endured storms that could have destroyed any ordinary lineage. The British royal family did not begin as the powerful global dynasty we recognize today. Their rise started in a world filled with chaos, invasions, and endless battles for survival. In the early medieval centuries, Britain was not one country but a mixture of small kingdoms, Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, East Anglia, each struggling against one another while defending themselves from repeated Viking attacks. It was during this age of fear and destruction that the roots of the royal dynasty were planted. The turning point began with Alfred of Wessex, later known as Alfred the Great. Alfred was the youngest son of the ruling family, and he was never supposed to become king. Fate, however, had other plans. One by one, his father and brothers died, leaving the kingdom in his hands. When the Vikings launched a sudden and devastating attack, Alfred was forced to flee for his life. Many believed England had fallen. Some even thought Alfred would never return, but Alfred was not the kind of man who surrendered easily. While hiding in the marshlands of Somerset, living like a commoner, he rebuilt his alliances, gathered loyal fighters, and crafted a strategy that would change Britain forever. Months later, he emerged with a revitalized army. In the historic Battle of Edington, Alfred achieved a decisive victory, pushing back the Viking threat and securing his kingdom's survival. Alfred's goal wasn't only to win battles. He wanted to build a nation. He introduced reforms in military organization, law, education, and defense. He built fortified towns across Wessex, known as burhs, which protected the people from future invasions. He insisted that English, not Latin, be used in learning and writing. For the first time, people began to develop a shared identity, seeing themselves not just as separate tribes but as a united people under one ruler. After Alfred's death, his children and grandchildren continued his mission. His son, Edward the Elder, reclaimed lost lands. His daughter, Telfelfeld, known as the Lady of the Mercians, led armies into battle and strengthened alliances. Under Alfred's grandson, King Athelstan, the once fractured land finally became a unified kingdom. These early foundations shaped the monarchy's authority. The king was seen not just as a warrior but as a protector appointed by God. Coronation rituals became sacred traditions. Succession through bloodline became essential. These customs formed the backbone of royal legitimacy, giving the crown both spiritual and political power. But with unity came new conflicts. Power attracted ambition, and soon royal family members began fighting among themselves. Brothers betrayed brothers. Sons rose against their fathers. Nobles supported whichever side benefited them most. The royal family became both the strength and weakness of the monarchy. Its rise depended on unity, but its greatest threat came from within. Despite internal divisions, the monarchy endured because it adapted. When one king failed, another branch of the family emerged. When one dynasty collapsed, another took its place. This flexibility allowed the monarchy to survive wars, rebellions, diseases, and invasions. Every challenge reshaped the royal family, making it more resilient than before. By the late 10th century, however, England faced another major challenge. Viking invasions intensified once more, this time more organized and aggressive. Kings like Dillard, Yanredi struggled to defend the realm. To buy time, the English paid Dianagold the money given to Vikings to stop their attacks. This drained the treasury and weakened the king's authority. The people grew angry, the nobles doubtful, and across the sea, foreign powers began to prepare their move. The early growth of the monarchy had been impressive, but now a new danger had approached, one that threatened to overthrow everything the early kings had built. A foreign dynasty was waiting to take the crown. After years of internal struggles and constant Viking threats, the English throne faced an unprecedented challenge. In 1013, the Danish king Sweyn Forkbeard invaded England, forcing King Tellard the Unready to flee to Normandy. For the first time, England was ruled entirely by a foreign king. Sweyn's sudden death a year later allowed Tetler to return, but the turmoil had already weakened the monarchy's grip. England's royal family now had to navigate a complex web of loyalty, betrayal, and foreign influence to survive. Lethelred's son, Edmund Ironside, took up the crown in 1016 and tried to restore stability. Known for his courage in battle, Edmund resisted Danish forces led by Canute the Great. Though they fought valiantly, the kingdom was eventually divided between the two, with Edmund ruling Wessex and Canute taking the rest. Edmund's untimely death that same year left Canute as the sole ruler, cementing Danish dominance over England. The royal family had learned a critical lesson. Survival often depended on negotiation as much as on warfare. Canute ruled wisely, balancing the interests of Danish warriors and English nobility. He married Emma of Normandy, Lethelred's widow, to strengthen his claim and create ties with the influential Norman lineage. This union symbolized the monarchy's growing reliance on strategic mirages of practice that would continue for centuries. Royal marriages became tools for diplomacy, ensuring alliances with powerful European houses while also consolidating internal authority. The royal family's ability to adapt was evident again after Canute's death. In 1035, his sons, Harold Harefoot and Harthocnot, fought over the throne, plunging England into further instability. Once more, the monarchy depended on negotiation, political maneuvering, and careful management of noble loyalties to maintain power. Each succession crisis tested the resilience of the royal family, teaching them the delicate balance between bloodline, strength, and diplomacy. Meanwhile, across the Channel, the Dukes of Normandy were rising in power. Their growing influence would soon intertwine with the English crown in ways that reshaped the future of the monarchy. Edward the Confessor, the son of Tethelard and Emma, ascended the throne in 1042 after years of Danish rule. Educated in Normandy and steeped in both English and French culture, Edward represented a bridge between kingdoms. His reign emphasized piety, diplomacy, and the careful cultivation of loyalty among nobles, demonstrating that the monarchy's survival now depended as much on perception and ceremony as on military might. Edward's reign also highlighted the increasing importance of tradition and protocol in royal governance. The king surrounded himself with advisors, clerics, and nobles who understood the power of appearances and rituals. Coronations, public ceremonies, and the display of royal insignia were no longer mere pageantry, they were instruments of authority. By reinforcing these traditions, Edward strengthened the monarchy's symbolic power, ensuring that even in times of political uncertainty, the crown maintained its presence in the hearts and minds of the people. However, Edward's failure to name a clear heir opened the door to future conflict. On his deathbed in 1066, Edward designated Harold Godwinson as king, bypassing distant relatives in the Normans. This decision set off a chain reaction that would forever alter the monarchy. William of Normandy, claiming that Edward had promised him the throne, launched an invasion, culminating in the historic Battle of Hastings. The victory of William, later known as William the Conqueror, established Norman rule in England, blending French administrative systems with English customs. The Normans brought a more centralized form of governance. Castles were built to assert royal authority, and the feudal system was reinforced to bind nobles to the crown. The royal family now faced a new challenge, balancing control over their subjects while navigating the ambitions of powerful Norman lords. This period marked the beginning of a monarchy that combined military power, strategic marriages, and carefully managed ceremonies to maintain dominance, a pattern that would continue through the centuries. The rise of the Normans also emphasized the importance of documentation and law. William commissioned surveys, such as the Domesday Book, to catalog lands and resources. The monarchy's power was now grounded not only in lineage and military strength but also in administrative sophistication. By establishing legal structures, the royal family could enforce authority across England, ensuring that even remote areas recognized the crown's supremacy. Throughout these turbulent times, the royal family learned that survival required more than just kings and queens. Advisors, scribes, clerics, and trusted nobles became essential to the monarchy's endurance. They acted as intermediaries between the crown and the people, interpreting laws, implementing policies, and maintaining the delicate balance of loyalty. The monarchy's influence grew not only through conquest, but also through these invisible networks of power. By the end of the 11th century, the British monarchy had transformed from a regional authority into a sophisticated institution capable of adapting to foreign invasions, internal rebellion, and shifting alliances. The lessons learned during this era: importance of marriage alliances, ceremonial authority, strategic governance, and the cultivation of loyalty laid the groundwork for centuries of royal dominance. England's kings and queens were no longer mere rulers. They were symbols of continuity, unity, and resilience in a world of constant upheaval. With the Norman conquest solidifying in 1066, William the Conqueror reshaped England's monarchy, laying the foundations for centuries of royal governance. The Battle for Hastings was more than a military triumph. It symbolized the beginning of a new era in which the monarchy blended authority, culture, and diplomacy. William's reign emphasized the fusion of Norman and Anglo-Saxon traditions, ensuring that England was ruled with centralized power while respecting long-standing customs. William understood that military conquest alone could not sustain the monarchy. He strategically distributed lands to loyal Norman barons, creating a network of feudal allegiance that tied powerful nobles directly to the crown. Castles and fortresses dotted the landscape, serving both as military strongholds and symbols of royal authority. The monarchy's visibility was reinforced through architecture. Every stone and tower proclaimed the power of the sovereign and instilled loyalty or fear among subjects. The Domesday Book, completed in 1086, was another critical tool in consolidating royal control. This detailed survey of England's resources allowed the monarchy to understand, manage, and tax the kingdom efficiently. Beyond administrative function, it reinforced the perception of a powerful and omnipresent crown. Every noble, every landowner, was reminded that the king saw all, knew all, and held ultimate authority. The royal family had transformed governance into a precise instrument, intertwining law, finance, and symbolism. William's children would inherit both the crown and the challenges of ruling a kingdom with deep-seated tensions. Succession was a delicate matter. Rival claims and familial disputes often threatened stability. William's sons Robert, William Rufus, and Henry would later vie for the throne, revealing the fragile balance between dynastic ambition and national unity. The monarchy's survival required not only military might, but also diplomacy, strategic marriages, and the careful cultivation of loyalty among barons and clergy. Under William's successors, the monarchy faced a constant tug-of-war between church and state. The investiture controversy, which played out in England under Henry I and later demonstrated that religious authority could challenge royal power. Kings had to negotiate with bishops, abbots, and the Pope, ensuring the church supported their reign while maintaining autonomy over secular matters. Royal authority was no longer merely about lineage or conquest. It demanded political finesse, patience, and strategy. Henry I, who ruled from 1100 to 1135, showcased this blend of diplomacy and control. He strengthened the legal system, issuing writs that formalized royal authority and standardized administration across England. By centralizing governance, the monarchy reinforced its symbolic and practical dominance. Yet, succession crises persisted. The death of his only legitimate son led to the anarchy, a period of civil war between Matilda, his daughter, and Stephen of Blois. England's monarchy learned a vital lesson. A throne without a clear heir risked plunging the entire kingdom into chaos. During these turbulent times, royal marriages became even more critical. They were not mere social events, but instruments of political strategy. Marrying into powerful continental families strengthened alliances, secured military support, and often ensured recognition of legitimacy. The royal family's survival increasingly relied on these calculated unions, which shaped European politics for generations. The monarchy's growing sophistication was also evident in ceremonial practices. Coronations, public appearances, and courtly rituals became tools to reinforce the crown's authority. Every gesture, every oath, and every decree conveyed legitimacy. Kings learned that the people, the baron, and even foreign rulers gauged the monarchy not only by force, but by the display of continuity, tradition, and grandeur. By the 12th century, England's royal family had endured invasions, civil wars, and religious conflicts. Yet, it remained resilient. The monarchy's adaptability through legal reform, symbolic power, strategic alliances, and dynastic marriages allowed it to emerge stronger after each crisis. Every generation added layers to the institution, blending old customs with new strategies to secure both power and legitimacy. The legacy of this period is clear. The British monarchy evolved from a precarious throne to a sophisticated institution capable of navigating internal strife, external threats, and complex European politics. Kings and queens became more than rulers. They were symbols of unity, stability, and continuity in a rapidly changing world. The lessons of conquest, diplomacy, and ritualized authority established patterns that the royal family would follow for centuries, ensuring its survival and influence. By the 13th century, the English monarchy faced unprecedented challenges that tested the very essence of royal power. King John, known for his conflicts with barons and the church, brought the monarchy to a pivotal moment in history. This clash demonstrated that even the most powerful monarchs had limits. Divine authority and the will of the nobility could constrain royal decisions. John's reign culminated in the sealing of the Magna Carta in 1215, a document that would forever shape the balance between the monarchy and its subjects. Though originally intended to appease rebellious barons, the Magna Carta introduced the concept that the king was not above the law, while John's successors often ignored its stipulations. The principles embedded in the charter influenced English governance for centuries, laying the groundwork for a constitutional monarchy. Amid these political upheavals, the monarchy's role in warfare and territorial expansion remained critical. The English crown's efforts in Wales, Scotland, and Ireland reflected the dual objectives of defense and assertion of authority. Monarchs deployed armies, fortified castles, and negotiated treaties, all while maintaining the delicate image of a sovereign ordained by both tradition and divine right. Strategic marriages continued to serve as instruments of diplomacy, weaving England into a complex web of European politics that could enhance or threaten royal power. Edward I, ascending the throne in 1272, exemplified the combination of military prowess and administrative skill. Known as Longshanks, he conducted campaigns in Wales and Scotland, leaving behind a legacy of conquest and consolidation. Beyond the battlefield, Edward I implemented legal reforms, strengthening the judicial system and codifying laws that reinforced the monarchy's authority. He recognized that power extended beyond armies. It depended on governance, justice, and the crown's ability to project fairness and order. During this period, royal ceremonies and symbolism became increasingly vital. Coronations, proclamations, and court rituals were designed not merely for spectacle but for reinforcing legitimacy and inspiring loyalty. Every knight's oath, every feudal duty, and every public appearance was orchestrated to solidify the monarchy's image as the rightful and enduring center of authority. The monarch was not only a ruler but also a living emblem of continuity, bridging generations and maintaining a sense of national identity. Monarchs had to balance secular authority with spiritual influence, navigating tensions between papal directives and domestic needs. despite setbacks, rebellions, and disputes. The royal family had adapted, learning from crises and cultivating resilience. Their ability to blend tradition with innovation, force with negotiation, and symbolism with administration ensured that the British monarchy remained central to England's identity and governance. The foundations laid during this era would influence subsequent centuries. Monarchs learned that survival depended not only on conquest, but on wisdom, alliances, and the careful management of both perception and power. These lessons would guide the royal family through civil wars, religious upheavals, and the rise of parliamentary influence, solidifying the monarchy's enduring role in British history. The 15th century plunged the English monarchy into one of its most turbulent eras, Wars of the Roses. This dynastic struggle between the houses of Lancaster and York highlighted both the vulnerability and resilience of the monarchy. Kings rose and fell, heirs were imprisoned or executed, and the legitimacy of the crown was continually contested. Yet, amid this chaos, the monarchy's underlying power structures, noble loyalty, ceremonial authority, and strategic alliances remained crucial to survival. Henry VI's reign exemplified the perils of weak leadership. A pious but indecisive king, he struggled to maintain control over fractious nobles and a kingdom weary from the 100 Years' War. His bouts of mental instability created a vacuum that ambitious claimants exploited, plunging England into civil war. During these conflicts, castles, towns, and even monasteries became battlegrounds. Yet the crown itself endured because of its deep-rooted symbolic authority. The monarchy was more than a person. It was the embodiment of continuity, order, and legitimacy. Edward IV, a Yorkist, seized the throne through military acumen and political cunning. His victory demonstrated the importance of both battlefield strategy and diplomacy. Edward meticulously rewarded loyalty, secured alliances through marriages, and leveraged propaganda to consolidate power. The court became a center of intrigue, where counsel and manipulation were as vital as swords and banners. His reign showed that survival often depended on blending force with intelligence, a lesson ingrained in the royal family for generations. The Wars of the Roses also underscored the centrality of marriage in consolidating dynastic power. Royal unions were not matters of personal preference, but of strategic importance, aimed at unifying factions and securing political stability. Elizabeth Woodville's marriage to Edward IV created both alliances and tensions, revealing the delicate balance between personal relationships and political necessity. The crown's ability to navigate these complexities determined the kingdom's stability and the dynasty's longevity. During this era, the monarchy's ceremonial role grew even more significant. Coronations, royal proclamations, and public appearances were meticulously choreographed to reinforce legitimacy. The visual and symbolic power of the monarchy became a stabilizing force in times of upheaval. Citizens, witnessing rituals of grandeur and continuity, found reassurance in the constancy of the crown, even as wars raged and dynasties clashed. The monarchy's image, cultivated through careful display, often mattered as much as the monarch's actual political authority. Henry VII's rise marked the conclusion of the Wars of the Roses and the establishment of the Tudor dynasty. By marrying Elizabeth of York, he united the warring houses, symbolically ending decades of conflict. Yet Henry's consolidation of power went beyond marriage. He reformed royal finances, strengthened administrative control, and carefully managed noble influence. These actions reinforced the monarchy's stability and demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of long-term governance. Henry VII's reign illustrated that dynastic endurance required both symbolic gestures and practical reforms. The monarchy's adaptability was further evident in its relationship with Parliament. While the crown retained executive authority, effective governance increasingly relied on consultation, negotiation, and legislative collaboration. Monarchs, like Henry VII, learned to leverage Parliament for financial and political support, ensuring the monarchy could govern effectively while maintaining the appearance of unity and legitimacy. This delicate balance between traditional authority and institutional cooperation became a hallmark of the evolving British monarchy. Education and preparation of heirs also became central to sustaining royal power. Princes were trained in statecraft, diplomacy, military strategy, and religious observance, ensuring they were equipped to navigate the complex web of governance. This emphasis on preparedness allowed the monarchy to endure periods of turbulence, minimizing the risks posed by weak or inexperienced rulers. The crown's careful investment in its heirs reflected a long-term vision essential for dynastic survival. By the end of the 15th century, the English monarchy had demonstrated remarkable resilience. Despite wars, internal strife, and contested claims, it emerged stronger, with a renewed understanding of political strategy, dynastic management, and symbolic authority. The lessons of the Wars of the Roses would inform royal conduct for centuries, shaping a monarchy capable of surviving challenges and projecting power both domestically and abroad. The foundations established during this era: strategic marriage, disciplined administration, ceremonial grandeur, and careful succession planning ensured that the British monarchy would not only endure, but also expand its influence. These principles would carry forward into the Tudor and Stuart era, supporting England's emergence as a dominant European power while embedding traditions that continue to define the royal family today. The Tudor period, beginning with Henry VII and flourishing under Henry VIII, marked a transformative era for the British monarchy. The crown was no longer merely a ceremonial symbol. It became a central engine of governance, power, and cultural influence. Henry VIII's reign, though controversial, showcased the monarchy's ability to adapt to religious, political, and social upheavals while maintaining its dominance. His decisions, personal ambitions, and the resulting changes in England would echo through centuries, shaping the very fabric of British monarchy. Henry VIII ascended the throne as a charismatic young king, embodying strength, intellect, and authority. Initially admired for his vigor and promise, he quickly demonstrated a keen understanding of both domestic and international politics. The early years of his reign were marked by military campaigns, diplomatic alliances, and a carefully cultivated image of majesty. Through tournaments, public appearances, and the patronage of the arts, Henry projected power not only to the English people but also to foreign courts. His ability to merge spectacle with statecraft solidified the monarchy's symbolic authority, reinforcing the perception that the crown represented both national unity and divine sanction. One of the most defining aspects of Henry VIII's reign was his strategic approach to marriage and succession. The king's desperate pursuit of a male heir led to a series of marriages, each intertwined with political necessity, personal desire, and religious controversy. His union with Catherine of Aragon initially strengthened ties with Spain, one of Europe's most powerful kingdoms. However, when the marriage failed to produce a male heir, Henry challenged long-standing religious conventions, ultimately leading to England's break with the Roman Catholic Church. The creation of the Church of England exemplified the monarchy's capacity to wield both spiritual and temporal authority. By assuming the role of supreme head of the Church, Henry consolidated power, asserting that the crown's sovereignty extended over both state and faith. This period also highlighted the crown's mastery of political maneuvering and the delicate balance between authority and governance. Henry relied on a network of ministers, advisors, and courtiers to administer the kingdom efficiently. Figures such as Thomas Wolsey and Thomas Cromwell exemplified the importance of capable counsel, yet their fates underscored the risks inherent in serving a powerful and unpredictable monarch. The king's relationships with his advisors were a microcosm of royal governance. Loyalty was rewarded, dissent punished, and ambition carefully monitored. The Tudor court became a theater where intellect, intrigue, and survival intersected, demonstrating the sophisticated mechanisms through which the monarchy maintained control. The financial strategies of the period further reinforced the monarchy's power. Henry VIII implemented policies that increased royal revenues, controlled taxation, and appropriated wealth from monasteries and religious institutions. These reforms not only financed ambitious projects, including wars and architectural endeavors, but also strengthened the crown's independence from parliamentary and noble interference. By centralizing economic power, the monarchy could exercise influence, unencumbered by competing factions, ensuring that the king's authority remained dominant across political, social, and military spheres. Culturally, the Tudor era positioned the monarchy as a patron of the arts, science, and education. The court became a hub of Renaissance innovation, attracting scholars, musicians, and artists. Henry VIII's support for humanism, literature, and music enhanced the crown's prestige, portraying the monarchy as enlightened and sophisticated. This cultural leadership extended the monarchy's influence beyond governance, embedding it within the national identity and international reputation of England through ceremony, display, and intellectual patronage. The monarchy cultivated an image of power that transcended mere political authority. However, Henry VIII's reign was not without turbulence. Religious reforms sparked resistance, while the execution of perceived enemies demonstrated the often brutal nature of royal authority. The suppression of uprisings, enforcement of conformity, and management of dissent illustrated the monarchy's ability to navigate crises with both force and strategic calculation. These challenges underscored the inherent tension between maintaining centralized power and addressing the needs and grievances of subjects. The crown's survival relied on an acute awareness of perception, loyalty, and authority, ensuring that each decision reinforced the monarchy's legitimacy and control. The succession crisis loomed constantly over the Tudor period, shaping policy, marriages, and alliances. Henry's children, Mary, Elizabeth, and Edward, were groomed amidst political tension, religious change, and court intrigue. The preparation of heirs reflected the monarchy's long-term strategy, ensuring that each generation could inherit not only the throne, but the complex political, religious, and social frameworks necessary for governance. This careful cultivation of successors highlighted the monarchy's focus on continuity, foresight, and dynastic security, principles critical to the survival of the British royal family across centuries. By the end of Henry VIII's reign, England had undergone profound transformations. The monarchy had expanded its authority over religion, finances, and governance, demonstrating adaptability and resilience in the face of societal and international challenges. The Tudor example illustrated that survival and dominance depended on a combination of personal ambition, strategic marriages, cultural patronage, and decisive leadership. The crown's ability to project power, maintain loyalty, and adapt to shifting circumstances ensured that the monarchy remained a central pillar of English identity, poised to influence both national and global affairs for generations. Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I each inherited a kingdom shaped by religious upheaval, political restructuring, and social transformation. Edward VI ascended to the throne as a boy king, his authority immediately constrained by regents and advisors. Mary I's reign marked a dramatic attempt to restore Catholicism, reflecting the monarchy's power to redefine the spiritual landscape of the nation. Her marriage to Philip II of Spain signaled a foreign alliance aimed at strengthening England as political influence. Elizabeth I, known as the Virgin Queen, embodied the monarchy's capacity for resilience, intelligence, and strategic diplomacy. Royal appearances, ceremonial processions, and courtly pageantry were carefully orchestrated to impress subjects and visiting dignitaries alike. The monarchy's authority was thus a blend of tangible control and symbolic dominance, ensuring that the institution remained central to England's social and political fabric. The monarchy's role in shaping England's overseas expansion highlighted its strategic vision and ability to mobilize resources for long-term influence. By blending cultural patronage, strategic alliances, and deft governance, the monarchy ensured its authority remained unchallenged. Through the trials and triumphs of Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I, the monarchy proved its adaptability and durability. The transition from Elizabeth I to the Stuart dynasty under James I marked the beginning of a new chapter for the British monarchy. James I faced tensions with Parliament, debates over taxation, and the lingering religious conflicts that had defined previous reigns. The English Civil War and the temporary abolition of the monarchy under Oliver Cromwell highlighted the fragility of royal authority. Yet the restoration in 1660 and the subsequent constitutional developments under William and Mary, and later Queen Anne, demonstrated the monarchy's ability to re-establish itself while accommodating new political realities. By transitioning from absolute rule to a constitutional framework, the Crown preserved its ceremonial prestige while ceding certain powers to Parliament, ensuring long-term stability and survival. Monarchs such as George III, Victoria, and Edward VII presided over an era of global influence, industrial progress, and cultural transformation. Royal patronage of the arts, sciences, and public institutions reinforced the Crown's moral and cultural authority, making the monarchy a symbol of national identity as much as political leadership. Queen Victoria, in particular, became an emblem of continuity, family values, and imperial reach. Her long reign, earning the era its name, and cementing the monarchy as a cornerstone of British society. The 20th century introduced unprecedented challenges: world wars, social reform, and rapidly changing media landscapes. During the World Wars, royal engagement with the public through broadcasts, morale-boosting visits, and visible leadership reinforced the monarchy's role as a stabilizing presence. The Crown's ability to embody national resilience, provide comfort, and project unity during times of crisis exemplified its enduring influence. Elizabeth II's reign epitomized the modern monarchy's adaptability. She navigated decades of social change, political reform, and global attention, maintaining the monarchy's relevance while respecting constitutional boundaries. And symbolic leadership ensured that the Crown remained a trusted institution, bridging the historical legacy of centuries with contemporary expectations. Her reign highlighted the monarchy as dual role, as a custodian of tradition and a participant in the evolving narrative of a modern nation. Marriages, divorces, alliances, and scandals underscored the monarchy's enduring struggle to balance private desires with public responsibility. These stories, widely reported and debated, contributed to the monarchy's mystique, demonstrating the tension between personal freedom and the obligations inherent in a hereditary institution. Despite these challenges, the family's ability to maintain cohesion and uphold public duties reinforced its legitimacy and continued relevance. The monarchy's influence extends beyond Britain, with members serving as ambassadors of culture, diplomacy, and international relations. This global reach is the culmination of centuries of careful strategy, negotiation, and adaptation, reflecting the monarchy's ability to maintain authority, respect, and symbolic power across diverse contexts. Royal traditions, from coronations to state banquets, remain integral to national identity. Each ceremony is steeped in history, connecting contemporary Britain to a lineage of rulers spanning a millennium. These rituals serve as tangible reminders of continuity, legitimacy, and the monarchy's enduring role in shaping the nation's cultural and political landscape. At the same time, modern adaptations embracing media, public engagement, and evolving social norms demonstrate the Crown's flexibility and responsiveness to societal change. The British royal family's legacy lies in its remarkable resilience. From medieval kings navigating feudal pressures to modern monarchs balancing media scrutiny and public expectation, the institution has consistently demonstrated an ability to survive, adapt, and lead symbolically. By combining ceremonial authority with moral and cultural leadership, the monarchy has remained central to British identity, bridging the past with the present. Monarchs adapted to shifting political landscapes, managed domestic and international crises, and cultivated a symbolic authority that transcended the limitations of law. Today, the monarchy continues to embody continuity, stability, and the ceremonial grandeur of a storied institution, reminding the world that power, when paired with tradition, diplomacy, and vision, can endure across generations. The legacy of the British monarchy is not merely historic lit. It's cultural, symbolic, and ongoing. It reflects centuries of careful negotiation, public engagement, and strategic vision. Through triumphs and tribulations, the royal family has maintained its relevance, influencing governance, diplomacy, and society. From medieval thrones to modern palaces, from ceremonial pomp to global diplomacy, The British crown exemplifies resilience, adaptation, and enduring authority, ensuring that the story of kings and queens continues to shape the nation and inspire generations worldwide.